This is Pound for Pound Boxing,
the voice of a new generation,
where we pull back no punches.
Mailbag edition.
And what we're going to do today is we're going to answer more questions that's been sent to our email at P4P mail@yahoo.com and at youtube.com. And all the comments that you guys have sent us, we're just going to take a couple random questions from there, and we'll answer those questions. Look forward to our predictions for the fights in the next week's show, where we'll predict the fights for the month of October. The first question is going to be Nick Player 1 and Rami 1206. They want to know, what is our thoughts on the Oscar De La Hoya pictures that have surfaced on the internet?
But I mean, let's be honest. De La Hoya, who came out on the internet this week in fishnet stockings. There's only one comment that I have to say about that. They're about as asinine as the person who made them from Photoshop.
Well, what I think it was just a get-rich-quick scheme. It was somebody, a prostitute from California, that says she took these pictures with some bum that's really good at Photoshop, and took the pictures and did what they had to do, and then released them for an amount of money to try to make it big. I don't believe they're big, and the one big determining factor, Oscar De La Hoya's wife would have him exterminated by now. A woman knows her man's body, and if that's not her man's body, she would have yelled out and would have assassinated him by now, would have left him and all that.
Hell have no fury like a woman scored.
There you go. Hell have no fury like a woman scored, and definitely she would have killed us. She would have killed him. So that's what I believe. I think they're fake. Anybody can Photoshop those pictures. The next question from Magic Trey. He wants to know, will Trinidad carry his power to 170 because people that he's taught to believe that he can't? So our thoughts on that.
I think he will. I mean, I think Tito is a type of fighter who's naturally gifted. There's a couple different fighters out there who are naturally gifted with power, and I believe Tito Trinidad is one of those guys. If you look at Tito Trinidad through his earlier careers, through later on career, no matter what size career, as he's moved up in weight, you can see that his body has not gotten bigger. It's been pretty much the same Tito Trinidad, maybe a little bit less defined from 147 to 160, but he's the type of fighter who's always carried his power. He was very devastating at 160 when he defeated Jabi, and I mean, let's just look at his body. He's not that big. He's just naturally gifted, and some athletes are like that.
I believe he carries power, and he does something that a lot of boxers also forget to do, and that's punch through the target.
That's true.
When you punch through the target, you're going to hit a lot harder. I think that Tito can carry most of his power up with him. I don't think we really won't know until the fight happens at 170 if he can carry his power. But I mean, I think from 147 to 154 he did fine. From 154 to 160 he did fine. So 10 more pounds, I believe he should be able to do fine. I just think that, you know, these are bigger guys, so they're going to be able to absorb a little bit more punishment than, you know, the guys at the lower weight classes. But I think he should be able to carry his weight, his power to the upper weight classes.
To me, I don't even think it's going to be a question of power. I think it's going to be a question of ring rust, and will he have it when he fights Roy Jones?
So we'll see from the fight at 170. But to answer your question, I believe that he'll carry his power.
Definitely.
Okay, the next question is going to be from Sergala Apele. Do you think Mayweather's talk of retirement is just a way of him ducking truly competitive fights, or will he retire after the Hatton fight?
It's simple. It boils down to one thing. If it makes dollars, it makes sense. And the plain and simple fact is that Floyd Mayweather is not going to retire. There's no way he's going to retire if he's in the driver's seat. And it's all a publicity ploy. I mean, let's be honest. This guy is a genius when it comes to marketing himself. And that's what it's all about. It's all about him marketing himself, whether it's Dancing with the Stars, whether it's 24/7 on HBO. It's all about marketing himself. And right now, he is in the driver's seat. He's the man that's made everybody make the big payday. For instance, the De La Hoya fight, which we all know, record sales. Over 2 million people bought that fight. He was the denominator in that fight. He was the denominator in Zab Judah making the biggest payday of his life. He's the denominator in Carlos Baldier making the payday of his life. So it's all about money.
Yeah, definitely. He said it best. I mean, it's all about money. Mayweather has risen his stock fighting De La Hoya, and now that he's on the Dancing with the Stars, he's going to get more mainstream people involved and looking into his fights. Plus, he's going to have all the fans that actually saw the De La Hoya Mayweather fight. They're going to want to know, well, now will this kid lose to this kid from England who throws a million punches around? So, I mean, everything looks good for him. He's just going to keep marketing himself. And also, if he loses, there's no way he's going to retire. He's not going to leave with a loss to Ricky Hatton. I mean, that's just the truth of the matter. There is definitely a rematch clause in that contract somewhere, and they will fight again. So, to answer your question, it's all BS. He's gonna keep fighting as long as them dollars come his way. He's fighting.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it.
All right. The next question is from Rolando in Texas. Will the winner of the Diaz versus Diaz will have 3 out of 4 belts, but Casamayor will still be recognized as the lightweight champ per the Ring magazine? Is that right? He hasn't fought in nearly a year, but will still have the ring belt.
No, I don't believe that's right. Why would it be right? You tell me right now, why it should be right that one guy who has 1 belt, it's not even one of the major organization body belts, it's just a Ring magazine belt. Yes, it's prestigious, don't get me wrong. The Ring magazine's been around for many decades, and yes, I mean, those fighters are recognized as some of the best, but like we said it before, the Ring magazine is a group of people who come together and say, this is the best fighter at that division. And people, you know, they either believe it or not. But let me tell you something, when the kid has 2 belts, he's got the, what belts?
The WBA and WBO.
The WBA and WBO, and Julio Diaz has the IBF belt. You tell me one thing, if one fighter between these 2 guys has collected 3 of the 4 major bodying belts, why would they not be universally recognized as a champion in 135? I think it's ridiculous, but you know what? To answer your question, yes, I think that Juan Diaz will be recognized, or Julio Diaz will be recognized as the mainstream champion in that weight division once they win, whoever wins that fight.
I agree. I believe at 135, it's whoever wins this fight is going to be the champion. They're going to have 3 of the major belts, 3 out of the 4 major belts at this weight class, and they deserve to be the champ. I mean, there's no questions, no questions about it. They fought all the top opposition to get to the point that they're at right now, and that they have these belts, and they obviously have fought the best in their division. Now, when they fight the Casamayor, I believe both of them, either of them, will beat Casamayor too. So, I mean, really, it's whoever wins out of this fight is going to be the champ. In my eyes, we'll hopefully that fight will happen in the future, Casamayor versus the winner of these 2, to show everybody in the world who the real champ at 135
That's
is.
a fight that needs to happen after these 2 fights, definitely. Casamayor against the winner of these fights. But, hey, that's for the future to be written.
So I hope that answers your question. Oh, and just to give a quick standard definition for everybody out there, how we believe, you know, who wins the universe. Whoever has most of the belts in that division, that'll be that's our standard of who the real champ is in that weight class. If you have 2 to 3 belts, you're the undisputed champ by my eyes. That means you've beaten the top opposition in 2 ranking systems to become the champ at that weight class. So in my eyes, that's who the champ is. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, moving on up. Now this is from Richard Garcia in Virginia by way of California. He wants to first say, "Hi Emily, from your husband Rich." And now his question is, family fight fans will benefit more from Trinidad winning. Fights like Trinidad versus Taylor, Trinidad versus Pavlik, Trinidad versus Miranda can happen. If Jones wins, it would only be Jones versus Hopkins 2, Jones versus Dawson, or Jones versus Nothing Fantastic. Your thoughts?
Oh man, definitely. There's no doubt about it. If Tito can actually get by Roy Jones, if that's a big if, as always, if he can get by Roy Jones, there's a plethora of fighters out there for him to fight. Whether it's Miranda, whether it's Jermaine Taylor moving up to 168, Joe Calzaghe, Bernard Hopkins, the list goes on. There's Winky. I mean, there's so many fighters out there that can make big fights. And Tito said it. I want the big fights. I want the legendary. Bring me, like Don King always says, bring me the Titans. You know what I'm saying? And there is so many fighters up there now at 168 that it would be ridiculous not to make the fights, win or lose.
I agree. I believe that a lot more can be done for the sport of boxing if Trinidad wins. He's just a more exciting fighter than Jones has been as of late. Not to say Jones isn't exciting, because he can be an exciting fighter too, as he was earlier in his career. It's just lately, people are more attracted to the Trinidad style of fighting, the brawler, come forward at you, knock you out style. And Jones recently hasn't shown that at all. I mean, other than his last fight. But it was, you know, not against a top grade A,
top 10 grade A type of fighter, the caliber fighter that we all want him to see inside the ring. I mean, he's an exciting fighter. There's no doubt about it. No, don't take anything away from Roy Jones. I mean, he's an exciting. Who the hell puts 2 hands behind his back and knocks Glenn Johnson out like that? You just don't do it. Not Glenn Johnson, excuse me, the other Johnson kid from Australia. You just don't do it. You don't see that type of athleticism in here, but you know.
Yeah, so to answer your question, yes, it would be more exciting if Tito wins and he fights all those people mentioned. But if Jones wins, you know, he's got a couple fights for him too. And that pretty much concludes our mailbag for today. Again, thank you guys for all the subscriptions. If you haven't subscribed, right up here, that orange button, subscribe. I'm talking to you, subscribe. If you have any questions, P4P mail@yahoo.com. And this is Pound for Pound Boxing, the voice of the new generation. We pull back no punches.
The little fuss we aren't afraid. Any little thing we have a tell them straight up like this. We all have Mr. Borgio, nobody fuck on nosotros. Tell the little fussy over there, you know we must be loco. You and your crew, them tampoco. We have the AK and the Bama and the Magnum and Calico. Bad boy from Puerto Rico.